good, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. And yeah, I'm gonna do a high school DxD video because I haven't done one in a minute and I feel like I should. So yeah. And so this one's gonna be a little interesting because, well, I thought this idea would be pretty cool. And this idea was what if Issei was Sephiroth's reincarnation. And there was no real reason why I wanted to do this. I just wanted to do it. So yeah. And I could talk about how he was Sephiroth, or Sephiroth died and Issei was born. That's how it happened and all that junk. But I could talk about Issei's whole childhood backstory. But hey, I already know what y'all want. Y'all want me to get into the whole juicy bit. So let me get into the meat and the potatoes of the situation. And hey, I ain't gonna lie, I want to do that too. So yeah, let me stop rambling and get on into this. We gonna cut exactly, and I mean exactly, to Issei just now getting into Koei Academy. And this one, Issei, he's a very different person. Very different person. He's quiet, well-mannered. His grades are high up. He's always been doing good. And yeah, the only thing that kind of freaks people out about him is, well, his slit eyes. But you really have to be staring at him dead in his face to be noticing something like that. And you know, Rias, seeing that freaking Issei has scored higher than Sona, and you know, Sona, she like, who you talking to over here? And Rias, she's like, man, the new kid, you know, freaking scored 99.5 on the entrance exam, you know. And Sona, she's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Do you know him? And you know, Rias, she like, nah, I don't really know him, but there's kind of like a sinister presence about him, you know. And from what Konako told me, his personality, it seems he's just a chill person and does not want to act around others, you know. And so, you know, Sona, she's asking like, so what exactly did his aura feel like then? And you know, Sona asking, you know, just questioning. And Rias, she's like, I don't really know, because she like, Konako best described it as a unfamiliar and somewhat frightening in contrast to his personality. But you know, she believes that he's just completely unaware of it, given his history and his, you know, pretty simple personality is just as constant as his grades. Which, you know, Sona looking at Rias, and she can tell like that's very troubling her. And you know, Sona asking like, what is it that like bothers you then? And you know, Rias, she's like, it's just, well, his parents are real. Like, he's really there. I mean, it seems like there's no birth certificate or record inside of Japan of his birth. I find it pretty weird, you know. And you know, Sona, she's like, he could have been just been born on the other part of the country or a different country or something. You know, Rias, she's like, nah, I already checked all possibilities and possible locations. He wasn't there in any of them. And you know, Sona, she's like, okay, then I guess we should like keep our eyes on him then, you know, for now at least. And you know, Rias, she's like, well, I already got Konako doing just that, but she can't find anything. Either he's that good at covering up his tracks, or you know, so she's like, well, he really does not know them. You know, would you know, like me to look into it as well? Or you know, Rias, you know, she actually thinking about it. And you know, she's like, no, not at the moment. I'll let you know if anything does to happen. And so, you know, Sona nodded in agreement and trusting that Rias can handle the situation. So we gonna cut to Issei. You know, Issei walking back from school. You know, he was confused. You know, why is this girl that sit next to him, Konako, constantly stalking him every day? And you know, well, I guess if she comes to talk to me during lunch break tomorrow, I'll ask her about it. And maybe she just lives in the same area as me. Well, probably, and most probably, she takes offense that and won't talk or just won't come near me again. You know, he thinking to himself. And while he was unused to interacting with other people because of various reasons, Issei did enjoy being around other people's presence. And while he didn't mind being alone, he would be happy if someone would just come up and say something to him. And you know, and someone in his voice is like, why do you want to be with them? Why do you want to be like them? You know, and, you know, you should lose all those habits and just embrace what you are. You know, he hearing a voice in his head. You know, it's been there ever since he could remember. Mainly a dude's voice inside his head, just berating him for trying to fit in and tell him that he doesn't need anybody. And then, you know, sometimes there is a soft, sweet voice, a gentle voice there, though it was worse. The voice suggests he would do certain things, and when Issei was younger, he accidentally made the mistake of listening to them. The result was that people who were close to Issei got hurt because of him. And because of that day, you know, Issei always tried his best to just ignore people. And, you know, as Issei is thinking to himself, you know, there's this chick, you know, trying to talk to him. You know, this sweet, you know, hearing that girl's voice, like, excuse me. And, you know, Issei, you know, he turned around and he sees the dark purple hair chick looking at him. And she's like, Issei Hyoda, you know, asking him, like, you know, Issei, he thinking of many things. 1, how does she know my name? 2, who are you? And 3, what do you want with me? And, you know, even though, you know, she didn't look threatening, Issei felt something within himself to just distrust her immediately, like doing his best not to let this show as he has, like, who are you? And, you know, at this, you know, the girl started, you know, acting like how she does in Ken, all flustered and shit. And Issei realizing immediately, like, oh, it's a whole act. And, you know, she's like, well, my name is Yuma. I've seen you around, and I thought I'd like to get to know you. You know, the girl who named her, you know, Yuma asked. And, you know, Issei, he thinks so, like, dang, she good at lying. And Issei, he thinks to himself, a believable story. A believable enough story, and an Alice that's not mentioning her acting skills. It's as if she practiced this shit. He's like, well, Yuma, what is it that you want with me? You know, Issei asking. And, you know, she's like, well, I thought, you know, we get to know each other. And, well, you know, you want to go out on a date? You know, she asking him. You know, she all acting all blushing slightly as if, you know, she was embarrassed to ask him this. And, you know, Issei, he like, dang, she good at this. And, you know, a voice in his head is like, bro, she plays the part of a flustered schoolgirl. Well, don't be trusting her. Don't be no simp, man. And, you know, the voice inside his head said. And, you know, Issei, he's like, for once, you and I are agreeing on something. You know, Issei thought that. You know, she's asking, like, please explain to me. You know, Issei, he's like, well, please explain to me why you're asking me out. Is it some sort of dare, initiation, or something? You know, Issei asking, you know, confused look on his face, like, is it a prank? And, you know, Yuma on her part took on the look of being hurt, and she's like, what? No, why would you say that? You know, he's thinking to himself, like, all right. So I know there is something important, but she's not emphasized anything of those words more than the others. Issei thinking himself, well, he didn't answer the first part, Issei stated. But he was actually kind of embarrassed by what a bystander would see and conclusions they might come to, but only slightly. She's like, well, I think, you're a good person. I like to get to know you better. The inner voice said, he's like, well, might as well play along for now. It will be awkward if you just flat out rejected her. Issei's like, I really believe that I am going to regret this immeasurably. Issei thinking to himself, all right, okay, when is fine with you? Issei asking her. After like a minute of her stuttering, the words finally come out. She's like, would you like to go with me this evening if you're free? Trying to brighten up the mood. Issei, you're like, sure, I guess. Well, where do you want to meet? And are you bringing anyone with you? The arcades would be a pretty good start. Issei like, I guess so. He knew like this was very vague, as he only came past there like a few weeks. She's like, great, I'll see you at 16. I'm looking forward to our date. She said before leaving. He said, he thinking himself like, alright, I know I shouldn't be going there. Now after she put the emphasis on the so word, Issei thinking himself before he turned around the corner and waited long enough to know that Konako was still following him. So, Issei dressing up in his good dress. And while he's already at the arcade at 6, Yuma was already waiting there for him. He's like, alright now. I know that I'm gonna regret this. Issei thinking to himself. So, walking up to Yuma, he's like, yo, Yuma, I hope I didn't keep you up for too long. Trying to spit some game, trying to talk like a normal person. She's like, oh no, I got here like 5 minutes ago. My father dropped me off. He's like, so what do you want to do first? She's like, well, let's just enjoy ourselves. So they do what they do, and so after their date is done, Issei and Yuma are walking through the park, and he's like, did you enjoy yourself? And, she's like, thank you. This was a pretty good time. And I want to thank you even more for this wonderful bracelet you got me. And, she's like, though, Issei, there is something you could do for me, she asks, as if the world depended on him to say yes to this question. And, Issei, he's like, well, I guess depends on if it's possible for me to be able to do it or not. And, she just flat out asking, well, could you die for me? And Issei made it look like he was actually thinking about it. Like he was just sitting there for like a good minute, actually thinking about it, in the whole thinking pose and everything. And then he was like, no. And after hearing that, she kind of surprised, like she thinking like he about to say something else, but after all that, he just responds with a one-worded answer. So Yuma transforming, being on some whole yandere shit. She's like, you can't escape me, Issei. Throwing light spears, trying to impale him. Issei, he dodged me. And Issei felt Yuma gaining up on him. She was soaring down at him from above, and so now was not the time for questions. They can come later on. Now it's like trying to survive. He running for his life at this point. So waiting until the right moment, she was almost next to him. Issei then jumped in the air, striking her in her chest with his fist. And seeing that, she was moving as fast as she was, she just crashed into the ground, and Issei just jumped on top of her as he's just riding her face into the dirt. And what she felt when Issei first punched her, paled in comparison to what she felt after he crashed straight onto the ground. And so her coughing up blood and everything, and managing to get one word out her mouth, like how, just how. Issei looming over her, no longer the gentle, nice person anymore. That she was led to believe had been an easy target. No, when Issei loomed over her, it was as if he'd grown taller, and only now did Yuma realized that his eyes were slightly different, where there was a small, almost unnoticeable shape in his pupils now, and now Yuma actually making eye contact with them, and she kind of got like a cold chill going down her spine, as if she was staring death in his face. Issei, he's like, well, to be honest, I don't really know, or I don't really know who I am, or what I am. But you're going to tell me why or what you are, what you hope to achieve by killing me. The usual gentleness that was in his voice just replaced with just a razor-edged steel that could like cut through bone. Metaphorically speaking, of course. She's like, no, speaking weakly, she wouldn't yield to a human. And he thinks to himself, like, I wonder if your opinion would change if I started to break every bone in your body, starting with your legs and working my way up from there. Or maybe I should start with the wings, perhaps breaking them and then ripping them out will do. And I guess we'll move on to your legs and work our way up from there. Shall we begin? Issei asked rather nonchalantly, in a hint of malice in his voice. Yuma just being horrified right now. She's like, no, please don't do that. Anything but that. She actually begging him. And Issei was sure that if the positions were reversed, then he wouldn't be receiving any of it. But so Issei, on his Sephiroth shit, he's like, those who are without mercy have no right to plead for it. And as he thought, which would make things seem stern. Now, speak quickly before I decide to do what I said just to cause you pain. Let's begin with your name, shall we? Then what are you? Sherry speaking like she speaking like a whole book. Like, my name Rainer. I'm a fallen angel. And, Issei, he like, how ironic, isn't it, that you were defeated by a fallen angel? And she was like, I was sent here to observe you, to see if you had a sacred gear. As she just continue talking, Issei, he like, I guess that is something powerful and dangerous, since you took upon yourself to kill me in orders when your orders were only to observe. Issei said, like, does that count as insubordination? Just asking. She's like, when you look at it that way, yeah. Yes, on both accounts, yeah. He's just telling her, and she weakly is asking him again, like, what are you? Because she's losing a lot of blood, and she's barely keeping herself awake right now. Issei, he's like, I don't know, but I can show you. As Issei stated before, something dark and vast and twisted and sprouted out his back on the left side, and just showering Rainer in the ring of black feathers. And Rainer's eyes widened when she saw that a single black wing extended on Issei's left half of his back. But what was even more shocking was how deformed it was. Not like her wings, which are similar to like an eagle or a raven. Now his was someone who had twisted the wing of a vulture. So, any ideas? Issei asked, just completely not just ignoring the look of horror on Rainer's face. Either, and he just didn't care. She's like, what are you? You know, asking now, terror pretty much evident on her face. You know, Issei, he's like, so you don't know either. Well, this is my first time killing someone. I'm a little nervous, and you are the first girl who ever asked me out on a date. Also, on a side note, remind me to never go out on anyone for the first date if it was this much of a disaster. You know, Issei joking, trying to add a bit more light to the mood for his sake, and more than anyone else's. Then his face hardened and became cold. But since you were trying to kill me, I'm sure I will be able to get over it. As he formed a power, you know, his hands started glowing. You know, right, actually panicking right now for her life right now. She's like, no, you know, just saying like Issei, I love you. Like, don't do this. You'll regret it. You know, I love you. Like, don't kill me. You can be the bigger person and just walk away and still have me. You know, her pleas fell on deaf ears. You know, he's like, if you actually meant anything of what you were saying, I would actually believe it. You know, Issei stated before. He just blank and emotionless look on Issei's face just stared as he just snaps his finger as Rainer's just screamed in pain as her body just disappears in the ash. So, after what was done is done, Issei turned around with a more elaborate look on his face, you know, addressed his hidden look, and he's like, so, Konako, did you enjoy my performance? And that's where I'm going to end it right there. Leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Tell me what you think, you know, you want more of this? Hey, let me know. And so, yeah. I'm out. Peace.